Alright, there we go. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Apologies for interrupting my favorite song in the middle of it, but nothing to do. Delta Sniper is where we want to be. Is there a Delta Sniper here? Alright. We are going to be ready to go pretty soon here. Let me take a bit of a bite of Borgar. Shut up, phone. Can't you see I'm in the middle of something? Death and Delay picked the map. Alright. So we have Towers of Doom, picked by Death and Delay. Let's see. Do I have the teams right? We're looking at... Tom Peace Campbell's Butternut Thundercats. Tom Peace Campbell's Butternut Thundercats, and that is with... Yep, alright. So Boogans, Band Tomb, and... What was that, Volskaya? Battlefield. Tomb and Battlefield were banned. And then we had... Ready. Death and Delay, banned Dragon... Oh, whoops, got that the wrong way around. Tomb of the Spider Queen and Battlefield of Eternity. And then those were Volskaya and Dragonshire. Alright. And then we are ready to go as soon as they want to hop in.
Cursed Hollow.
Cursed Hollow is the first one. Oh, that... I have Towers of Doom instead of Cursed Hollow. Whoops, that's my bad. They're both very, very similar themed, right? So... Let's see what we're looking at here. Hold on, I just gotta close this door. There we go. Alright, Chromie banned by Boogans. So, wrong teams in title? What are you talking about, Pina? There's nothing wrong about it. It's Death and Delay and Boogans Forever. Chromie banned out by Boogans Forever. That is a very standard ban. In this patch, although Chromie isn't quite as powerful as she was prior, she still is in a very strong spot, able to provide a lot of follow-up damage, and once she hits level 18, of course, due to the fact that she gets her talents 2 levels earlier than everybody else, she is very powerful indeed at that point when she gets her Piercing Sands or her ultimate upgrades. Of course, sometimes we see Blessing of the Bronze too. And when used properly, that can also be a teamfight winner right there. Orphea and Tacit are banned out, so we're seeing a lot of love for mages here. I believe that that Orphea is a target ban. I want to say against non-champion, I believe, is their Orphea player. Again, I'm not super... I am not super acquainted with these teams yet, but I have played against both of these. Of course, I am the flexible assassin player for Deckard's Area Edition, and... we have faced both of these teams once. Gazlowe banned out, unsurprising to see. Gazlowe is very, very strong right now. And you do not want to risk the team with first pick having it. That would be a bad thing for you. We have seen Gazlowe going, I think, undefeated as yet. Last I checked, he was undefeated. And Greymane first picked by Boogans Forever. Very strong, solid pick. Very flexible, of course, with his ability to do camps, his ability to burn down tanks and squishies like. And we have pretty much always seen a lot of Greymane as far as I can remember in the meta. Diablo and Uther picked. Very interesting pick to see Uther as a main healer. Kind of makes you wonder if we're going to see double support, especially so early on in the draft. I would not be surprised to see a Lunara or, of course, Chromie's already banned out. An Ana and Imperius. Imperius provides a lot of damage to the team fight too, but generally, against Uther, you want a lot of sustained damage because of the fact that he has low healing, but he has that armor bonus on his healing. I believe that is Devotion, I want to say. Yeah, I believe his trait is called Devotion, provides 25 armor for, I think, 2 seconds after anybody on his team is healed. And, of course, against that, you don't want bursty targets like Imperius. Of course, if you can bring enough damage and you can just kill somebody instantaneously, then you might still be able to get through that armor, especially with the percent damage that Imperius and Greymane both bring to the table. And Ana, very effective if she can time those grenades properly against Uther's heal. She can also reduce his spell power by half, which would be pretty devastating for him if she takes that talent at 7. Now, Kael'thas and ETC have been banned out by both sides. Interesting to see the Kael'thas ban. Might be a target ban, might be that Boogans has been struggling a little bit against it. And then the ETC, of course, is pretty solid right now. Of course, since his armor nerf, it's questionable as to whether he's still tier S tank material, but most teams are just playing it safe and either taking or banning him. Oh, looks like we're seeing a disconnect. DC. Okay, then. Sorry about that, folks. That is abrupt. Well, I can write down picks and bans. Looks like, who was that? MDC, Huckett, Delta Sniper, Dauntress. Hold on just a second, folks. I'm just going to grab a screenshot of that real quick. Sorry, I'm just figuring out what we're having here. Okay. MDC, Huckett, Delta Sniper, and Dauntress. Who does that leave? M2, it looks like, left the Uther player MZ17, it looks like, got disconnected there. Okay. I'm just going to supply them with the information. Dead. That's everything thus far. All right. So back to the draft. Looks like we're just going to be picking up from where we left off there. So Lunara, of course, interesting that Death and Delay pick that to deny that the Lunara from Boogans Forever. And Lunara, if she's able to ever get her hands on Ana, that will provide a lot of excuse me, a lot of teamfight pressure for Death and Delay due to the fact that Ana has a very hard time healing herself. Unless, you know, she's able to attack 5 people, in which case. Or she's at level 20. But usually, Ana's going to have a very hard time healing herself against that Lunara, and it looks like they also wanted to keep it out of the hands of Boogans Forever, so that they can't counterpick that Uther, so... What else might we see? Let's come back online. Excellent. We could still see a Mephisto pick from Boogans. Of course, Mephisto is my personal favorite hero in the game. I am 80 levels higher on Mephisto than any other hero, and that would be very solid into the Uther, a lot of poke damage and a lot of distributed teamfight damage. That's generally what you want. Could be seeing... Of course, like I said, Chromie got banned out. We could be seeing the Li Ming, although the armor from Uther would make it hard for her to get resets. Could be seeing an Asmodan, but that seems pretty unlikely. A lot of picks available for Boogans Forever, but not a lot of mages left over. It looks like it's mostly going to be Gul'dan and Mephisto. There's not a ton of other mages that are great into Uther. Of course, there's a couple of others that they could go with, like the Li Ming or the Jaina. or they could go for a hybrid hero like Vala, Sylvanas, or Alarak, but not a lot of mages that you would specifically counterpick into Uther available for them. So we might be seeing one of those combo heroes. We might be seeing one of those... I forgot to... How do I ban this? Do I have to... We'll just purge it for now. There we go. Sorry. Alright, anyways, looks like MZ17 just got back. No worries. I got the... all picks chat for you guys. Just turn up the hero's music while we're waiting. Yeah. Want me to post them? Yeah. Let's just you. Alright. Not a lot else to talk about in the draft. The Diablo is going to be very scary into the Ana and the Greymane. If they can take out that Ana early, then Imperius and Greymane are likely going to have a hard time against that, against the rest of the team. Alright. Probably just going to speed through the draft here. We had Orphea, Gazlo, ETC, and then Chromie, Tassadar, Kithos. Yep. So they should just speed right through that. And then we had the Diablo, Uther, Lunara, Thrall on the left side, the Greymane, Imperius, Ana on the right side. There's the Orphea ban. Next we're going to see the Tassadar ban, and then the Gazlo ban. Excellent. Of course, we are left to wonder if potentially there might be some strategy that was going... That was a funny little appearance there. Gazlo didn't fully disappear before Greymane appeared. We are left to wonder if there might have been some potential strategy going on in that disconnect time. Potentially the last picks out of the Boogans and Death and Delay might be slightly altered now that they've seen what their opponents are bringing to bear. The Uther could be there to dive with Diablo into the Ana. Of course, those were both picked after the Ana and the Imperius, so we have to wonder if they were counter picks or if they were just the picks that they were planning to go with anyways, but not particularly advantageous into any of those heroes but Ana, so you wonder if they might be trying to dive on her and potentially blow her up before the team fight really gets going. That would provide them with a big advantage, of course. Healer, arguably the most important role in the game by some people's standards. Certainly, it is the hardest role to balance. Blaze is coming in potentially as the main tank, potentially as the offlane. Interestingly, both Imperius and Blaze can flex into both of those positions. There's not a lot of other tanks that can do that. I think it's pretty much restricted to Arthas mostly. Most other tanks are going to have a hard time in the offlane apart from Arthas. So it's interesting to see that, and Gul'dan probably for the nano boost. We could be seeing a Reign of RNG coming out here. Reign of Destruction is not bad when it's nano boosted, but Gul'dan is great either way when he's nano boosted, and it would be surprising to not see the Horrify coming out. Doubt we're going to be seeing anything happening in the swap round because nothing was changed, or because they had a whole draft's worth of time to figure out all of that stuff. So then we're seeing the Raynor last picked by Death and Delay. So pretty decently high damage team and a fair amount of CCs. Uther, Diablo, and Thrall all have their hard CCs to stick people in place, and then Lunara and Raynor both have their slows. And by the way, let me know in chat if the frame rate is wrong or like anything is up with that, because when I am tabbed into HOTS, my stream manager goes down to approximately 2 frames per second, and there's also some variety of insect in here. Not too pleased about. So, looking at the players we have here on the left side, Uther being played by MZ17, or MZ17 potentially. MDC on Lunara, Huckett on Diablo, Delta Sniper on Raynor, Dauntress on Thrall. And then on the right side, we have Tompiece on Blaze, Thundercats on Ana, Campbellas on Greymane, Bummernaut on Imperius, and Non-Champion on Gul'dan. We're seeing plenty of GLHFs in chat. And let's have a look at the talent picks from these teams before stuff gets started here. Wave of Light, interesting to see out of Uther. Of course, they recently reduced the cooldown of Devotion and also reduced the cooldown reduction of Wave of Light, so you could make a case for it being more or less valuable now, by virtue of the fact that Wave of Light has a lower cooldown without having it. Sentinel Wisp by Lunara, pretty standard. Devil's Due by Diablo might be going into that standard Q build instead of the auto attack build that we've been seeing so much of in the meta right now. Nothing really happening just yet. Ace in the Hole on Raynor, very standard. Echo of the Elements on Thrall. Looks like he's trying to stack that up here, attacking the backline, trying to get them low. Although he could have gotten potentially one more stack there. We're seeing a bunch of people rotating down to the bot lane. Greymane already setting up on the siege camp, so it's pretty clear that Boogans Forever... Oh, whoops. I forgot to change that screen. My bad. New streamer, boys. New streamer. Alright, anyways. And I also forgot about that. Alright, we're good. That won't happen again. Let's see. We're seeing the Echoed Corruption on Gul'dan. No stacks of that just yet. Oh, I also have to do that, and then... Jeez, crazy. So much stuff that I have to do here. And then I want... I think that's everything. Alright, we're good. We're also seeing the Echoed Corruption out of Gul'dan. No stacks on that yet. We're going to be very interested to see how fast you can stack that. Delta Sniper also rotating onto the siege camp slightly later than Greymane, which means that Greymane, with the assistance of Ana, are able to grab that bruiser camp early. Now the blue team, Death and Delay, are going to be going down to the bot lane to deal with that siege camp, and they are able to do so in a most efficient fashion. Both teams hitting their level 4s at pretty close to the same time. Now the bruiser camp is coming in mid, and there's still 3 people in the bot lane, so Raynor might have a little bit of a hard time defending this here for a few seconds. As Boogans Forever push that Bruiser camp in, although Death and Delay come in right in time. Imperius stunned out, although he does do the spear, and it looks like Uther is in quite a bit of trouble. Uther barely manages to get away alive, doesn't quite have to use the Holy Ghost yet. However, Diablo in a bit of trouble. Imperius also getting pushed towards the towers. Now, towers don't retarget anymore, but looks like Imperius might be able to make it out alive while both Lunara and Diablo fall for their efforts. A lot of pressure from the Boogans Forever against Death and Delay. Very interesting to see because, like I said, nothing is particularly there to counter that Uther, especially with the Gul'dan not there in that fight, but Imperius was able to pump out a lot of damage with, I believe, the 2 or 3 impaling, or celestial charges that he got in that fight, both of them being empowered. We're also seeing the first tribute going over to Boogans Forever, and it looks like they're going to try to get a flank on Raynor. Are they going to be able to find it? They do stun him. They do get the flame on him, and that's him down with the Ana grenade, I believe, canceling all of Uther's healing, although not his armor. But the armor was not nearly enough with 5 people rotating onto Raynor. Looks like Death and Delay are going to have a hard time in keeping their heroes alive in this game because Boogans Forever wants to apply a lot of pressure with that main tank Imperius.
Gather tribute.
We are seeing Blaze as the offlaner for this team. Now they're making a very aggressive move here onto the Bruiser camp, and this might be a mistake, but I don't think that Death and Delay is going to be able to get onto it in time, and they are not. However, they're in a little bit of trouble. Camp Bellas barely gets out, but the stun comes in. Nobody there to follow up. A 3-man spear from Bummernot. That is a huge amount of damage from that spear, and Bummernot is just single-handedly taking apart the blue team's entire front line and the back line at the same time with those spears. They are absolutely devastating, and if Death and Delay can't dodge those spears pretty soon, they are going to have a hard time in these team fights, with already the second objective going over to Boogans Forever uncontested because of how much damage Imperius did there. We're seeing a lot of pressure on the bot lane, and Imperius once again secures a kill with the aid of Gul'dan. Now, in the top lane, not a lot's happening. Interestingly, Diablo is against Blaze, and we are seeing Flame Stomp build Diablo rather than the standard Shadow Charge, which is very interesting to see, especially without that Feast on Fear, although it's not necessary for the Flame Stomp build. It is very common to see Feast on Fear in it. Does imply that they might want Diablo to be in the lanes very often, get that value out of Devil's Due with the regen globes and the healing fountains. Now, looks like both Greymane and Imperius might want to try and kill Diablo. It's questionable as to whether they can do it before 10. Looks like Diablo's going to be safe, and they take a couple of tower shots, but they did lower him to half health, and that's going to be not a great situation for this objective, especially if he doesn't have his fountain, because Uther, as we know, is not very good at healing people up in the interim between team fights. Now, Diablo charging in on Camp Bellas. Looks like he did have a globe or a fountain, I'm not sure. He does have 82 stacks on his Black Soul Stone, so that's going to be amplifying the value that globes provide by quite a bit. As you can see, that regen globe is healing him through all of Imperius's damage, and looks like they want to continue chasing him down, though. And with that Cursed Bullet, is he going to be able to make it out? Not quite. Uther slightly too late with the Wave of Light, and Diablo does go down for his efforts. He should not have engaged while his team was trying to retreat, it looks like, because the Boogans Forever definitely want to be able to punish him for that. Now, Thrall getting a lot of free siege value up here, and already is going to be able to drop those towers. Of course, Thrall arguably the stronger solo laner against Blaze, although both can win if played properly. Now, I'm sorry, folks, but it looks like I almost missed this massive boss fight going on down here, and it looks like Death and Delay are getting feared off the point. Are they going to be able to hold it? They're barely getting on in time, but Greymane goes down for Boogans. However, everybody is low on the side of Death and Delay. Raynor is fighting his way through, and he's barely getting healed by Uther, but not quite enough. Can Lunara secure kills? Diablo manages to shove them off the point. Lunara is trying to kill Gul'dan. It looks like she might be able to do it. Ana barely gets the heal in time, but Diablo goes down just as that happens. And that means that Boogans successfully steal Death and Delay's boss. That's going to put them in a very precarious position especially by virtue of the fact that this curse is right about to come up. I don't think Boogans, or Death and Delay, is going to be able to contest this at all. They have to defend against that boss, and that means that keep mixing the teams up. That means that Boogans is going to have nearly a full health boss pushing down a lane while assisted by a curse from the Raven Lord. Now, Diablo charges into the boss but gets stunned by it. He's going to try and do a panic ult, but not quite enough to save himself there. And very unfortunate that the boss decided to use its stun right as Diablo charged in. Now, Imperius charging behind the wall. Of course, the forts are currently turned off by that Raven Lord's curse, but he might be slightly too greedy here. Can Ana keep him? He is still alive, and he manages to kill Raynor. Now, can the Eye of Horus maybe secure the kill? No, Greymane can secure the kill, is the answer to that. Greymane wants more. He wants to go after that Lunara. Uther is frantically chasing her with the Holy Ghost, trying to keep up, but Diablo is there to save her in time, and looks like Bunwernot is going to get stuck in that curse. He is very low, and that is very risky to Celestial Charge right into the curse that this core provides. However, Death and Delay are in a lot of trouble here. Boogans want to end this game as soon as they can, and they already have one keep down. They're already chipping the core down to 90%, and they want to get that mid keep. With that big of a minion wave, they might be able to get a little bit more core damage, but it looks like they are going to back off for now. Are they? They can go back in if they want to, but they will not. They are going to retreat from that. However, the keep is very low. Surprisingly strong showing out of Boogans Forever with that double bruiser style. Very interesting to see because they're able to put so much pressure on Death and Delay. Even Uther isn't able to keep them alive through these burst stuns, and it makes you wonder what their plan was on the side of Death and Delay when they drafted Uther. Maybe they were planning on being able to engage pretty hard into the Boogans Forever and use that Divine Storm to their advantage, but right now, being on the back foot constantly in all of these fights, Uther is having a very hard time keeping his team alive, let alone winning fights. Now it looks like Boogans want to invade on this siege camp, and they are going to get it uncontested. They have a 3-level advantage right now. Shortly going to be 2 levels, but they still are going to have that talent tier advantage very soon, especially with that siege camp there to provide them a little burst of XP. Looks like Gul'dan is getting actually surprisingly more XP than either of his bruisers, and they want to push with this boss. They want to claim another keep. Now, Blaze is being rotated down to deal with the bruisers, but Diablo is in the bottom lane dealing with those catapults that are pushing towards the core, and he's going to be late to the defense, which means that Boogans Forever can take this fight. Ana can land a big sleep and keep them from getting a lot of damage on the boss, and huge amounts of damage coming out from Lunara and Greymane. Imperius tries to follow it up, but is not quite able to get there in time to stun them, and they have to back out of that one after he takes one tower shot too many to keep going in. Now, the Hyperion was used on the boss there, which means they won't have it for this objective, which might put them in a little bit of trouble. Looks like Boogans wants to claim this bruiser camp right before the curse comes out, and that means that they are going to have some pressure in the mid lane, potentially while this fight is going, but it looks like Death and Delay doesn't even want to take this fight. They want to take that catapult pressure off their core and maybe go through this fort in the process. Very risky to leave home with Boogans Forever having full control of the map. They might just decide to dive on that keep, and it looks like that might be what they're about to do. They definitely wanted the Lunara there, but she did manage to get away in time, using that Thornwood Vine to keep them at bay, but she is not going to be able to defend this on her own, especially with that siege damage coming out of both Greymane and Gul'dan, both very strong siege heroes. But it looks like Boogans doesn't want to keep pushing their luck. They just want to disengage, potentially go in on this fight, but they want to go onto that tribute as soon as possible. Now, Imperius goes in and lands a huge spear. Also, a huge bullet instantly drops Raynor, and Diablo is also very low. The Eye of Horus coming in and finishing him off while they try to engage on the rest of Death and Delay. Will they be able to find another spear? Spear must be low to its cooldown unless he missed it, which I am not sure if I caught. It looks like they want to end the game right here with that double kill. They Death and Delay is missing both their tank and one of their damage dealers. Can Boogans finish the game right here? They are at very high health, and it looks like they can. Wow, incredibly strong showing out of Boogans. Initially in this division, Death and Delay was looking to be the top team, but Boogans did not even have a problem fighting them there. I don't believe there was a single fight that they lost, despite a strong showing out of Death and Delay. I believe that that might be their 4th loss in the entire season, something like that. Very interesting to see such a strong stomping by the Boogans Forever. They are definitely stepping up their game later into this season. Now, looking at the stats here, Imperius did come out with the most damage, which is not entirely surprising, although it's interesting that he managed to get it without that Burn the Impure at level 1 doing % damage. His spear, he just landed enough of those spears with the Impaling Light buff that he just absolutely destroyed their team. And that means that he ended up with top damage. The only one who went down once was Greymane on the side of Boogans Forever, and it looks like Lunara was trying her best to match the damage of Boogans Forever, but she did not quite manage to match anybody but Greymane, while Raynor and his comrades in arms had a very hard time matching the damage output of Boogans Forever. I must admit, I am surprised by that showing. Greymane and Gul'dan, both very strong, high-octane damage outputs, but the Imperius managed to just put out so much damage with his constant spearing that he was able to absolutely secure those teamfights for Boogans Forever. In terms of XP, both Gul'dan and Blaze soaked quite a bit up, while on the side of Death and Delay, it looks like they were not able to get that much experience because they were probably just constantly trying to rotate to match Boogans. They lost, I believe, one boss fight, a bruiser camp fight, and a couple of tribute fights on their side of the map, and every time they did that, they were not able to keep soaking, and that XP differential between them just grew and grew. Now it looks like we have the next map pick here is going to be Alterac Pass. So let's put that in here. We want to do that. Sorry, still getting used to my hotkeys. Alterac Pass is going to be the next game, picked by Boogans Forever. It would be convenient. So Boogans Forever opted to give the map choice, or give the first pick over to Death and Delay because they wanted to play on Alterac. Makes you wonder what they are going to be doing here. Thanks. Makes you wonder what strategy they will have. F1 for sure. Now, the question is, what are we going to see out of Boogans Forever? I don't think that the Death and Delay are going, or that Death and Delay are going to let that Imperius through again, because Imperius absolutely took them apart. Question is, what will Boogans, what will Boogans be picking in lieu of that Imperius? They might be able to get that Orphea, which I believe they have been which has been very popular with them, I'm pretty sure. I might be mixing them up with Strange Team Comp, but I believe that Orphea was banned out by Death and Delay, and if they want to keep that Gazlo gone, although I suppose Death and Delay is going to have the first pick this time, so they might end up taking the Gazlo if Boogans don't ban it, but I am potentially expecting to see an Imperius ban coming out here out of Death and Delay, maybe another Gazlo ban, maybe an Orphea ban. Very interesting to see what ends up happening here. Going to indicate to them that we're ready. And we'll see what we can do here. Pretty strong showing by Greymane. I don't think that he ended up coming close to Imperius's damage, but he did not even need to, because every single cursed bullet that he landed pretty much ended up in a kill. Or at least almost every one of them. I don't quite remember all of them, but he did not even need to provide much sustained damage because they just died very, very rapidly to that Imperius. And when Gul'dan was there, he just added to the fire, quite literally with his Fell Flame. He was able to just tear the enemy team apart, lower their health down, and make them ready for Imperius to just destroy them. Was it Bummernot on the Imperious that time? I didn't quite remember who it was, but I believe that he is characteristically their tank player, so yes, I would be unsurprised if they might want to ban something else of his as well. Especially if they get rid of that Imperious, they might want to target him, seeing as he seems to be one of their stronger players here. Now, heading into the draft right about now, I believe. There we go. Alterac Pass! That's what we're playing on, with the side of Boogans Forever on the right, and the side of Death and Delay on the left with Vandar Stormpike. We're going to see if they can pull out an alliance win today, or whether the Horde will remain dominant in this series. Very surprised if we don't see an Imperious either in this phase or the second one. Oh, wait, hold on. I think that the first pick might have... Alterac Pass was picked by Boogans, but it looks like they have first pick. I can't chat with them as an observer, unfortunately, but I think they might have gotten that wrong, because I believe that Death and Delay should have the first pick. We'll see if they redo this lobby at all, but in the meanwhile, we're seeing Imperious picked by Death and Delay. Maybe it might be that I got the map pick wrong, but I'm pretty sure that Boogans was the team that picked it. Either way, we will see. We will leave it to them to sort that out. Imperious banned out as expected, along with the Gazlo ban by Boogans. And then the May ban by Death and Delay. May is always a popular ban if you are targeting the tank player, so as I said, they might indeed be doing that and trying to deny Bummernot his stronger picks. Question is, what does he have left after Imperious and May? What will we be seeing him pull out? Potentially a Johanna if they manage to get that Orphea could be seen? Oh. That's odd.
Here we go again!
Very strange. So, the lobby is not, as it turns out, broken, but specifically the pick order up here is the wrong way around. That is a very strange thing to see. Chromie first picked by Death and Delay. I believe that she was banned out in the last game, and interesting to see the Uther banned out this time because they did not seem to have a problem with it. Might be indicative of them going with a slightly different strategy this time, especially since we see that Diablo pick. Uther can be pretty strong against Diablo, so that might be why they decided to ban it out. Greymane, I believe, also taken on the same player both times by Camp Bellas, and those Cursed Bullets were very strong last game. We'll see if he can keep it up this game. Arthas and Stukov picked in the meanwhile by Death and Delay, both very strong lockdown heroes, and Arthas probably there to counterpick the Diablo and the Greymane. If Greymane ever dives in near Arthas, Arthas can lock him down quite hard, and Diablo will be able to, or Diablo will have a hard time moving around amidst Death and Delay's team. Death and Delay's heroes, if Arthas has anything to say about it. And then Stukov there probably in order to get lockdown for Chromie. Yes, it is normally first ban, first pick. And as you can see, even though Death and Delay first picked this side, it indicates that Red Team first banned and first picked, which is why I'm saying that the lobby is slightly wonked right now.
Anna checking in.
Not entirely sure what's going on there. I don't think I've seen that bug before. Now we're seeing the Ana and the Tassadar picked by Boogans Forever at the same time. So probably going to be seeing a nano-boosted Tassadar following up on whatever Diablo and Greymane initiate on. Now what is the response going to be out of Death and Delay? We might be seeing a strong Peel Bruiser, or we could be seeing Arthas put into the Bruiser role, and we could be seeing another tank. Most of the time, you tend to see Arthas as a tank. Looks like we're seeing, yes, Falstad as the second damage and Leoric as the offlaner. So it looks like Death and Delay want to go for a lot of map pressure here. And it doesn't seem like they are particularly worried about Boogans Engage, although I would be. Now, interesting to see the Malthael in tandem with the Ana coming out of Boogans. We could be seeing a nano-boosted Malthael. Very, very strong choice that has been recently increasing in popularity amongst the meta. Of course, Malthael's Soul Rip, his heal, being on a very low cooldown means that if Ana ever nano boosts him, he can just start healing like crazy, and he can just get into the middle of Death and Delay and just stay there for the whole 8 seconds of nano boost and then some if he wants to. So we might end up seeing that here coming out of the Ana. She has 2 very good nano boost targets, and that is going to be definitely advantageous in the team fights here. Now, introducing us to the players, we have MDC once again playing the mage on Falstad. Also, I need to do that. I almost forgot. We have Chromie being played by Delta Sniper, Dawntress on Leoric, MZ17 on Stukov, and Huckett playing Arthas. And on the right side, Boogans Forever trying to maintain that advantage with Tompiece on Malthael, Camp Bellas on Greymane, Bummernot playing Diablo, and Non-Champion on Tassadar with Thundercats on Ana. Looking at the talent picks here, looks like we're seeing bribes, so yep. They want to maintain that macro pressure. Time Walker's Pursuit, definitely one of the lower choices in terms of popularity, but it is my favorite on Chromie right now because it provides a comparable amount of damage to the other 2 with that spell power buff, and it provides 2 other bonuses at the same time. I like it because it doesn't have a quest component. A lot of poke damage going through from both teams here. Chromie is just shelling away from the backline. Arthas is going in there and slowing people a little bit, but not much is going on. We're seeing both of the bruisers rotating into the same lane, and both of the 2 of the DPS players rotating down into the bottom lane. I believe that once they hit level 4, it's an even matchup, but if Falstad plays it well, before then he should be able to outlane Tassadar because all of his stuff is pretty much auto hit, or at least most of his damage, and then all of Tassadar's damage is skill shot based. Apologies, folks, gotta take a drink. Looks like Falstad wants to play it pretty safe right now, but while Arthas does come in on the rotate, he is not able to find the route, and as such Tassadar is in no danger whatsoever. Seeing both teams rotate onto their siege camps at the exact same time, with Boogans getting it slightly ahead of Death and Delay, as to be expected given the fact that they have Greymane. He is very strong on that camp clear, and he's going to be able to grab those, what are they called? Gnolls? I think Gnolls. He's going to be able to grab those Gnolls very quickly. Now, lots of damage being put on Falstad means that he can't really help Arthas out in the front line. If that Sleep Dart had landed, I think Arthas would have been a dead man, but it didn't quite land. Arthas is able to get out and grab his fountain with rapidity. Now it looks like they are both able to clear those camps before any damage is dealt, so both teams are doing their macro very well. They want to rotate down onto Tassadar again, but he does rotate out of the way just in time. Chromie might try and interrupt his back. Not quite there in time. And she just puts a little bit of damage on the walls instead. Not much happening thus far. Bribe, Time Walkers, Consume Vitality, so Leoric probably wants to get in there in the team fights, get a lot of Qs off. Reactive Ballista Spores, counter pick for the Malthael Greymane Diablo dive. Rhyme, counter picked for the Greymane. Oh, looks like we're seeing Arthas in a bit of trouble. Can he make it out? Stukov, I believe, has his heal on cooldown. Huckett is barely going to get chipped by that dot from Ana, and then the Tassadar just finishes him off. Very strong showing by Boogans. Arthas doesn't have any way of really getting out when Diablo body blocks him like that, and Boogans just kind of clustered around him and managed to prevent his escape for just long enough that they were able to kill him before he could make it to the safety of his wall. Very strong showing by Boogans, once again showing that they know how to play around their tank in these fights, and their tank knows how to play around his team in these fights too. Both camps, once again, getting grabbed by both teams. I believe that these camps are the fastest spawning camps in the game, unless you include the recon on Hanamura, that of course just changes hands every time it's grabbed. But apart from that, I believe these recon camps are the fastest spawning camps in the game with just a, I believe, 1 minute 30 delay. between when they get grabbed and when they can next be taken. Mummernaut wants to engage on Leoric. He is going to find a flip, but Leoric, of course, is able to ghost his way out. They do get a fair amount of chip damage, and Stukov does use his trait there. He has the biotic armor for the counter to Greymane there, so a little bit risky to use it on just a single target, but big wall coming out from Tassadar enables Diablo to find that stun on Leoric, and Leoric very low, but he goes out. He's not quite able to get out in time, and the Tassadar Q just barely manages to kill Falstad, with the healing out of Stukov being very delayed. When you have something like that that happens in a burst, it's very hard for Stukov to save Tassadar's life, especially when I believe his trait was still on cooldown when he used it on Leoric. Now, looks like Leoric wants to try and take back this objective, but Boogans does not want him to. However, they are playing a little bit safe with non-champion being quite low on both health and mana, and Ana being quite low on health. It would be very easy for Chromie to just land a random Dragon's Breath on her and finish her off, so they do not want to risk that. They are instead backing out with their 5-second lead on the objective, and they are just going to re-engage at their leisure. We're seeing Malthael go into full Q build on a Pale Horse, so it seems likely that he is trying to be a secondary nano boost target. Tassadar with Psionic Echo, interestingly, so he wants to get double Psionic Storms out there at the same time. Diablo going for the Life Leech build, which is very different from what we saw in the last game. With that Feast on Fear at 1, he's going to be very hard to kill in teamfights, and I think that that is exactly what happened right here when Tassadar got that massive wall off. Diablo just got a bunch of health immediately, and they were not able to put any pressure on him, nor were they able to save their teammates because Stukov does not have an ability to do that. Now, however, a very strong engage with Stukov initiating onto the Tassadar means Tassadar is going to go down, and Death and Delay wants to continue that advantage. They want to take out Diablo. Leoric is going to ghost right past him, and Diablo is completely slowed, body blocked, and just annihilated. With the slowing sands moved over from here to here, Arthas and Leoric both getting constant slows on him, and Stukov as well with that setup onto Tassadar. They are going to have a very hard time disengaging when Death and Delay finds their footing in these fights, which means that Diablo is pretty much going to have to be their shield if they want to win when Death and Delay gets that good engage. And after Tassadar was already taken out, there was no way that Diablo was going to make it out of there alive if Death and Delay played it right, which they did. Ana being under a little bit of pressure by Chromie as she takes that prison camp back, but nothing major is going on just yet. Looks like everybody on both sides has respawned and is ready to go back into the fight. Now Diablo wants to try and find an engage. He might get time trapped. Nope, no time traps. Ana getting a lot of damage from Chromie. However, Huckett also in a lot of danger, but looks like Leoric and Arthas both very low. Falstad tries to gust them out in time, but he is just not able to. The nano boost has not quite gone out just yet, but Arthas manages to root them. Delta Sniper caught out in a very awkward position as the rest of her team disengages, and she's going to be taken out with ease by that Diablo. Interesting to see her in that position with the whole rest of her team running away. Seems like she was slightly too late to make it out alive. And that means that Boogans is not only going to be able to reclaim their camp, but likely they're going to be able to get this prison camp for free, because unless Death and Delay wants to try and engage without Chromie, who is, I believe, their main source of damage here, yes, they are probably going to be able to take that back. Now, they're trying to engage with just 3, but Boogans is managing to scare them off. Malthael also rotating down with his Pale Horse. Leoric getting interrupted by Tassadar. Are they going to be able to stop it? It is only at 1 second, 0 seconds. It is gone. However, Bummanot very low, Dauntress very low, Huckett very low. Looks like Diablo is going down first with Leoric following soon after, and then Arthas as well. Malthael manages to barely dodge the flailing swipe. However, he still gets taken out, which means that it's going to be a fight in advantage. The advantage is going to slightly go over to Boogans. I cannot speak tonight. I don't know what is wrong with me. But with that Malthael taken down, I believe he did get nano boosted there. They're going to not be able to push quite as hard as they would otherwise. So a nice advantage for, or a nice leveling out for Death and Delay, so to speak. Looks like they just want to push down the mid lane. Everybody is going with, apart from Malthael, who just respawned going on the top lane with his Pale Horse. And they just want to try and take this fort out as soon as possible. They have pretty strong siege, but Arthas with those ghouls is going to be a pretty strong defender. I don't think that they just have the pure damage to scare Boogans off before they kill this fort, though, especially with that cavalry constantly shelling away. Fort is down to just a couple thousand hit points, but they are barely managing to force Boogans away. Now, Arthas is in the middle of the team, which is exactly where he wants to be, but he doesn't have his ult right now. Stukov is going to try to get them to disengage, but it looks like Arthas is going down. Leoric might be able to get out, but he might not. Falstad completely misses his gust, and it looks like he's going to be in a lot of danger too. The Cursed Bullet missed, so he might get out. Looks like he is barely getting out with that Cursed Bullet miss, but that does mean that Boogans is going to be able to get that fort for free. Well, not entirely for free. Bummernot is very low, but he can heal up very rapidly. Even PvE with that Life Leech, of course, doesn't deal quite as much healing PvE, but it was buffed, I believe. It initially was 1% of his health. Oh, I'm sorry. It is not PvE at all. It is just that reduced healing is just when he's attacking heroes. My bad. But either way, that was slightly buffed. I believe initially when they reworked that talent, the healing without full souls was at 1%, but now it's at 2%, which is quite good for him, especially given that he isn't quite at full souls yet. Now, it looks like both teams want to try to push with their siege camp, but Boogans slightly committing a little bit more. Malthael trying to get an engage, but he's not going to quite get it. I think Diablo might have been able to kill Falstad there for about half a second, but he didn't want to try and risk it, so it looks like they are just going to go in on the top lane and instead try to catch them out while they rotate. Slight confusion with where they want to be heading, it looks like, but Bummernot is just going to remain in that bush and wait for somebody to show their head while Malthael rotates down to the bottom lane to deal with Leoric. Looks like Death and Delay is slightly poking their head out. Sorry, what is going on here? My title? Oops. Sorry about that. That is Boogans vs. Dad. Alright. I don't have time to type more than that. I am being yelled at for my stream title not being updated. New streamer, new streamer, new streamer. Okay.
I've got eyes on our forces. Move in and get them out of there.
Alright, looks like both teams are going to be rotating up toward their prison camps, but Malthael is left in the bottom lane for slightly longer than anybody else is. Of course, with his Pale Horse, he's going to be able to rotate up in no time, and his team is going to get that objective immediately, despite Stukov's best effort to interrupt it. He is slightly too late with that lurking arm, and they're immediately going to get a 10-second lead. Let's see if they can grow that a little bit more. We're not taking a fair amount of damage from Chromie, but nothing that Ana can't heal up. And if he gets one stun, of course, he'll immediately heal that up with Feast on Fear as well. Now it looks like they want to take this camp back with that Slowing Sands right there, but Tassadar is able to get a lot of poke in on them. And then Ana is able to disrupt quite a bit as well, in addition to pretty much everybody else for a little bit. Alright, looks like Diablo wants to go in on Arthas. He manages to kill him with a quick APOC combo, and despite Falstad's disengage with the Gust, it looks like Diablo is just going to go in once again on MZ17. He has that... He does not... yeah, he has that cooldown reduction from Diabolical Momentum. They changed the icon for it when they nerfed it, and I didn't realize that. And he is just going to be able to get everybody completely out. Tassadar catches Chromie out with that wall, and Diablo barely gets away from those tower shots, taking the majority of his health, but Ana happens to excel outside of fights when it comes to healing people up from poke damage. Looks like they want to rotate down onto this bottom fort while Malthael goes up to the top lane to soak. They are just going to completely engage on this. Now, Diablo immediately taking the tower aggro while he dives onto Leoric. Leoric barely makes it. Oh, Leoric does not make it out. Campbellas is there with his movement speed to follow up the secondary Diablo charge. You often don't expect Diablo to have another charge, but once he gets that cruelty buff and he's able to attack twice as fast, he just immediately gets his charge off cooldown in like 2 or 3 seconds after his first combo. So he is just able to charge in once again, take it. He wants to take another tower aggro, get Huckett out of there. The wall not quite in position to keep Huckett out, but Huckett is nevertheless forced to back out and in quite a bit of trouble. He decides to use his ghouls right now. He walks in towards them, and a Cursed Bullet goes down and takes him down to half health, which is kind of what he wants when he has his ghouls out, and he can just use them to heal up from that, but he's not going to quite use those last two before the time runs out. Slight misplay there, but nothing too major because Stukov is going to be able to heal him up in short order as long as they don't take another team fight soon. Now, it looks like Boogans wants to rotate onto this boss here and take it as soon as they can. With Greymane on the case, that is going to be sooner than you might expect. It looks like Death and Delay has sniffed it out, but I don't think they're going to get there in time to stop it. With Stukov coming in behind the rest of his team, Diablo's going to engage on Falstad and immediately get him down. Leoric does shade onto the point, but I don't think he's going to be able to stop it before he gets killed. Indeed, and while Greymane does go down, the rest of Death and Delay does also go down. Now the question is, can the Boogans Forever keep this, or use this momentum to end the game? It looks like Malthael just wants to rotate into that mid lane so that they can maybe get that mid lane keep down as soon as possible. Of course, for any of those who may be unfamiliar, on Alterac Pass, the core has 60 armor, and for each keep that is destroyed, that armor is reduced by 20. So if they just decide to push with this boss, they're likely not going to be able to end here, because all of the damage that they put on this core is going to be reduced by 40%. So it looks like, indeed, they're not going to push with the boss, even though it is almost at full health. Of course, the core is just too strong while two keeps stand for them to try and take that fight. They instead want to rotate with Malthael, or Malthael wants to rotate alone onto that camp, and they want to rotate up to the secondary boss. Now, they are missing Greymane, so yes, looks like they do change their mind at the last moment. Ana goes in to help just a little bit with that siege camp, and they're just going to re-engage once Greymane is alive and well. Malthael hearths for more mana, and he did go with the Tormented Souls. I have not actually even seen that icon in years, I don't think. And of course, we have seen it used a couple of times, but he did go with that No One Can Stop Death at level 20, so if he ever goes in and dies, he is just going to get a free pass to live again, much like Diablo. So they actually have two heroes that can get back onto the battlefield extremely quickly. Although on the side of Death and Delay, they do also have Leoric, who can do that, although it seems like Arthas is going down first more often than not. And he did use his ghouls again. I think that's only an 80-second cooldown. I'm not entirely sure when he used that, but that's going to put them at a bit of a disadvantage when they go into this fight. Arthas cannot really sustain much damage without those ghouls. Now he is going to get stunned out by that APOC combo, and Falstad looks like he is going to drop immediately, but he manages to barely make it out. However, Leoric in a lot of trouble, Arthas in a lot of trouble, Stukov can't keep him healed through all of that, and Death and Delay is going to be forced to back out of this objective. It's incredible that Falstad didn't die there, but they are still not going to be able to stop this from being taken, and with that siege camp being pushed in by Boogans, they are going to be in a bit of trouble here. The cavalry is going to get at their wall very, very quickly, and there's a good chance that one of these two keeps might end up falling. Now, they did manage to clear out that siege camp, but it looks like Boogans might want to end. They have changed their minds, and they're rotating up to mid. Tassadar barely manages to keep that Twilight Archon up. Of course, one of his most important talents, and the reason why you rarely see Black Hole is because you see Twilight Archon all the time. Twilight Archon all day, every day, is able to keep him in that powerful Archon form forever, and he barely, within 1 second of it getting deleted, running out of time, he managed to keep it up. Now, they have a lot of poke damage with that Hunter's Blunderbuss as well, and I don't think that Death and Delay is going to be able to do much, especially with their top keep also in trouble. It looks like Boogans wants to rotate onto them. They just want to keep them out here and now, but Bummernot is in a lot of trouble. He's extremely slowed, he's extremely low, but he gets those heals from that auto-attacking, from that stunning, and he manages to take them out. Stukov also falling to the Malthael, I believe, in addition to the Tassadar's damage, along with Leoric falling and Falstad falling in short order. The cavalry is already killing the core, and Boogans doesn't even need to do anything to secure their 2-0 victory. They are just going to be able to... Also, I think I didn't send that to all. Whatever. Who cares? I will just tell the teams, well played. GG and well played by both teams there. While they did not at all go for the same tank as first time, they went for a very similar strategy where they just wanted to dive on the enemy team and just blow them apart as quick as possible. The Arthas pick seemed like it did not have a very good time there against that blow-up. Part of that was the ghouls potentially not being used very often, but part of that was just he was not able to do it. Now, Boogans were the ones who won. I'll be in Discord for an interview with Boogans. So that is going to be a 2-0 lead going over to Boogans. Let's hop into Nexus Gaming Series Lobby 1. All right. Hello there, Tom Peace.
What's up, man?
Are you the captain for Boogans? You were the Malthael player.
Correct. Yes, sir.
And you are also the captain?
Yep.
All right, so very strong showing out of you there. Death and Delay, one of the scarier teams to go up against, but it looks like they slightly lost their stride in both of those matches. You had a very easy time dismantling them there. I am interested to know what you thought going into that match it was going to be like. Did it all go according to plan? Did you expect it to be a harder game than it was, or?
Yeah, I would say I would give them some credit though. That first game, like
Mhm.
I know the way it ended and it looked pretty, rough for them, but they could have very well have won that crazy fight down bottom, and if they did,
For
then
sure.
it just totally changes the game there. So, I feel like at least our team, we've had a ton of fights like that we end up coming out on the losing side of, and it's just like, it's unfortunate, but we got it this time, and bummer not just the stabby daddy in game one. I mean, that was awesome. So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Imperius had a lot of impact in game number 1, and I was very curious to see what he would be doing in game number 2, but it seemed like you were able to flex around that Diablo very well, especially with that Tassadar pick. And it was interesting to see the Malthael Tormented Souls pick. Is that something that you tend to go very often with the Ana?
No. I've been trying super hard to play that, but it's it's one of those things where you're not gonna take Malthael unless it's right. You just can't force it. So I kind of saw what they had in this last one, and I knew that they wouldn't be able to deal with it. So yeah, I mean, Thunder and I have played it just a few times, but it's one of those things where he just presses R on me, and then I press R and just hold Q and W. So it's it's not too much practice coordination needed with it. Just tell him to nano me.
Yeah,
So.
of course. And also, because I did forget to mention it last time I casted, just so you know, I am one of the members of Deckard's Erudition, so don't guard your words closely, but you should be anyways, because I believe half my team is in chat anyways.
No problem, man.
And it was, I'm sorry, I'm very new to this, and it's hard for me to come up with anything else to talk about, but
You're good.
it didn't even seem like you needed to use No One Can Stop Death there, but a lot of the other 20 picks seem to just absolutely concrete your advantage in that game number 2.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, at least, I mean, if you're just asking like about my pick there, I mean, yeah, I think that's just what you always go the buyback.
Yeah.
But,
I'm just
oh,
wondering.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, we didn't even need it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? We play pretty well together. We know how Bummer's going to engage, and we know what to look for with him. And
yeah, I was a little bit worried for you and Diablo going into the Arthas, but it seemed like you had no trouble guessing exactly how much damage it would take to just destroy him before that attack and slow started to affect you.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter. Like for me, I can just W to people, right? So like with Tormented Souls, I'm just like, even if he roots me, as soon as it's over, I'm
that is
just
true.
press W, I'm somewhere else, and then you got Ana who's removing roots and slows as well. So, yeah, I mean that's a good. I agree with you. It's a good point. But yeah, we knew we had it with what we were rocking there. So it was a good game, man. We were happy.
Yeah, very exciting series. I was kind of late on moving the camera down to that boss play that you were talking about on Cursed Hollow. Was that you guys just immediately diving onto that, or who started that fight? I kind of missed it.
I was tight booty up top lane, just kind of watching from up there. So I didn't really see right away.
All right. Well, it was a very bold play, and it did pay off for you.
We called for their boss like right after. I guess it was after the curse ended. Maybe that's what it was. I don't really remember exactly how we got to it, but I was a little mad at myself for not just going there, but I wanted to get the soak, and it was a close fight. But I think we started the boss. They engaged us, which Bummer just made a really good play. I mean, they all made really good plays. It was a pretty it was a bloodbath down there. So
yeah,
that was this time.
That was very hard to keep track of. Well, I think that's everything that I wanted to ask, though. Are there any shout-outs that you wanted to give to anybody? And obviously Bummer not, but
yeah, Bummer. Yeah, the whole team, man. They're it's a good group of guys, man. I say it every time we have one of these. It's a lot of fun to play with them, and they're good players. So these guys, and then thanks for picking the game up. We were wondering if somebody was going to cast it tonight, so I was glad that you grabbed it.
it was
Appreciate
actually.
that.
I don't know if you saw my message in the Discord, but it was actually because the game that I was originally going to cast got canceled. But with the strong showing that you put out tonight, I would be very interested in seeing more of your games and casting them.
Yeah, for sure, man. No, that's unfortunately the way what happened with them there, but I'm glad you picked it up. We love to go back and watch from that perspective as well, to see see what the other team's seeing, we'll see what you guys are thinking, and versus just kind of what we were seeing. So it's nice to have somebody cast it. Appreciate that.
Of course. Yeah, no problem. Thanks for giving such an engaging game to cast with, and GG's.
Thanks, man. GG's. See you later.
See ya. So, very strong showing by both teams there. Ultimately, Boogans goes 2-0. Now, this whole division has been very strange in terms of what teams are stronger than what teams, and I think that going into the start of this season, most people would have thought within like the first couple of weeks, if you'd had this match then, I think most people would have thought Death and Delay is massively favored, but Boogans just took them apart in game number 2, and the Imperious, it didn't seem like there was a lot of that they were ready for that in game number 1. So it's very interesting to see the dynamic with where these teams' powers are shifting and who gets beat by whom. Beaten, sorry. I am going to be very afraid of playing against Boogans in the future. I believe that we should be up against Death and Delay soon, because that was... No, we should be up against Lubu soon, and then Automaniacs. I don't know, though. Truth be told, I don't know shit about how the brackets work, so it's anyone's guess as to who we're playing, but I would be shocked if we don't play Boogans at least once in the playoffs. The only way I see that happening is if we get just so outclassed that we drop out almost immediately. But thank you, everybody, for watching the stream. Very exciting match for sure, and very very surprising to see the absolute domination that Boogans gave Death and Delay. So I will probably be casting another game next week. We will see where I go with that. Definitely going to see if there's more Boogans games that I can cast. I was also interested in casting one of the Careless Badgers games, because Kyle Ferguson is kind of whom I have to thank for getting me into NGS. So that might be happening in the future. But apart from that, I think I'm slowly improving at this, but I definitely had some points in there where I screwed up with the camera and where my mouth just stopped working. So you live and you learn, I suppose. But thank you, everybody, for being here. I might end up broadcasting some of our practices soon for Deckard's Area Edition. We practice normally on Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m. EST, I believe, if I recall correctly, and Wednesdays often as well. So if you're interested in that, I might broadcast that. I might not, because it like reduces my game to like 40 frames per second. So we will see where I go from here. But thank you, everybody, for watching, and thank you both teams for putting up such a strong showing. Just about as exciting of a match to cast as last week with the Automaniacs versus Strange Team Comp. Both teams, while it did seem like one team had an advantage the entire time, there were definitely several points where the other team nearly rallied and came back and made the game that much more exciting. So very fun to cast for sure. And with that, I will see you all on the flip side.